What makes an inspired woman? We are brilliant, funny, compassionate, generous, fearless, supportive, bold, outstanding leaders, and super influential. That's what makes us inspired women. Come join us. Welcome to Inspired Women Amazing Lives podcast, where we share stories of inspiration by amazing women who are living amazing lives so that you too can see the journey is not that far away. And today I have a very interesting guest, very smart young lady who's going to share with us some amazing information. Her name is Vicky. Welcome, Vicky.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly. So happy to be here.
Awesome. So Vikki Louise worked in finance and tech before turning her personal development hobby into a successful career in 2016. Now she works with clients all over the world, teaching them how to stop procrastinating. I know a lot of us need this, and how to manage their anxiety. She has a no BS style and uses a combination of neuroscience, life coaching tools, and tough love to get you unstuck. Love it. Vicky, if you will, go ahead and share your story with us and tell us, how did you get to this place from moving from finance to working with women with their getting unstuck?
Yeah. So I guess I never really knew what anxiety was. And I'd already left finance and gone into coaching, life coaching, because I really wanted to help people. At the same time, I was also involved in launching a tech company, and I was waking up every morning with panic attacks, except I didn't know what they were. Because to me, what I'd heard about anxiety was like very like one-sided extreme snippets, and I was waking up with panic attacks and then continuing my day. So to me, what I'd heard was it's either like doctors, even like suicide, or like very extreme. So I didn't really know what was happening. And then when I was Googling things, it was like a lot of misinformation, a lot of disempowering. Like it was making me feel worse. I was like, this isn't really helping. And I didn't feel like I needed to be on medication. And it was like, it was just part of my routine. And I was missing a resource where I could go and find like simple, actionable tools to manage it without going to doctors or going for medication or anything like that. So that's why I created this. And basically, what I ended up doing was applying my life coaching tools and researching like neuroscience and biology and like our human brain a little bit, and then creating this solution out there because there's a lot of like just disempowering misinformation online that creates more anxiety when you're already feeling anxious.
Oh, nice. Yes, that sounds awesome. So, um, for my listeners, if you could just kind of, for people who've never had a panic attack or anxiety or have felt anxious, or I imagine maybe there are some people out there who haven't. What is anxiety and how can it affect our everyday lives if we suffer with it?
Mm-hmm. So I love this question because at the time when I was experiencing this, I literally went to Google and looked up the definition, and it said anxiety is a feeling of like worry, unease, and overwhelm. So what it was doing, like the best dictionaries in the world, what they were doing was defining anxiety with more emotions. Like it was very vague, and like there was nothing concrete that I could take from that. It was completely vague, and then only went on to feed more anxiety of like, I don't even know what's happening. So one of the things that I do with my clients is I teach them how to, and we can do it here today, I'll tell everyone how to do it, like define your anxiety for yourself. Because a feeling is always going to be a vibration in our body caused by our thoughts. Like how you feel joy is different to how you feel stress. How you feel stress is different to how you feel anger. How you feel anger is different to how you feel frustration. So what we want to do is like create your own definition of exactly where are those vibrations for you. What do they feel like? For some people, it's a pounding in the chest, or a heat in their body, a lightness in their head, or like tingling up and down their arms. So I really encourage everyone listening to define it for themselves. And if you think you haven't had it, I mean, it's just like anytime that you are about to do something new, like maybe you have like a swirling in your stomach. One of the things I came across in my research was, a health website saying 1 in 5 American adults suffer with an anxiety disorder. Now, my background in like statistics tells me that 1 in 5 is 20%. 20% is not a disorder, it's a trend, right? Like it's completely normal. And I actually think every single person has experienced it on some form or another. There's just like a spectrum of it. Like how far is that intensity? But anxiety itself is normal, and just part of our human experience, and actually served us throughout evolution. Our anxiety and ability to sense potential danger, which released hormones so we could run for faster, not feel pain, and like have all of our senses heightened, kept our predecessors alive. Like that's why we have anxiety, which I think is also really important for people to know.
Yes, that is very important for us to know. I didn't realize that. So that kind of like fight or flight response is a part of that whole of anxiety, it sounds like. So
Right, totally.
yeah.
And it like totally served us. Like our brain's been around for millions of years, right? We
Yeah,
like now live in these modern worlds with like apartments and cars and food delivery, and our brains like got these instincts that we don't need anymore.
nice. That's good to know. And so I love the fact that you said, that little feeling you get in your stomach. So um and trust me, I have that all the time. Ha, that little feeling you get in your stomach when you're nervous about something new. And I'm sure at a base level, we've all felt that. It's like, oh, I don't know about this.
Right. Your brain's like, we're gonna die, don't do it. That's your anxiety.
I love that. Yeah. So what do so you say it's just on different spectrums. So how do you know if like you have a serious anxiety problem if you've not been diagnosed by a doctor? Like for instance, I asked this question because I have a sister, and my daughter says it all the time too, is they'll be going through something and they'll get really short of breath and they can't breathe. And I'm like, and they're thinking, am I having a heart attack? And I'm like, no, you're
Right,
not.
yeah.
So how do you know?
Typically everyone has to make that judgment for themselves of the level of discomfort they're willing to feel. For me, like I can tell you that anyone who's like not able to hold down a job or not able to get out of bed are people that I would recommend go see a doctor versus come to me. But aside from that, it's like it's vibrations in your body, even if it's really uncomfortable, right? Like I've been there, I've had panic attacks. Like it's not fun, it's not supposed to be fun.
Right.
Not there. It's not the part in our lives where our brain's like, let's have a party. It's the part in our lives where our brain's like, we're gonna fucking die. So it's not supposed to be fun, but so it's unpleasant. But yeah, if you're able to like hold down a job and function in society and pay bills and whatever it is, then I would say that you're on the scale of discomfort, but you're not. Now listen, a lot of doctors say the opposite because they say 1 in 5 people have a disorder. So it depends. You kind of get that choice. Like what I do is I'm for people that want to feel empowered by it, right? Like you have your mental health, you have your brain. There's nothing wrong with being like, I want to go on meds and I don't want to, and even that can be empowering, right? There's nothing wrong with the solution you pick, but recognize that you have options. That's really the main reason why I do what I do.
Nice. Yes. Um, it sounds like, a lot of times when I've talked to friends that I've known that have had like what I would call extreme anxiety, um, they they feel like the medication helps to control that for them. So they decide that medication is for them and they do that. But a lot of times what happens is that people, because we are people and we like to put people in buckets, we just automatically decide something is wrong with that person because they have anxiety and they have to use medication to control it. We automatically want to label people. And so a lot of times people are and I don't see anything wrong with it, but of course a lot of times people are ashamed to talk about their anxiety or admit it simply because they don't want to be labeled and put in that bucket. And I think that's awful, because then you really can't get a fix for it if you don't talk about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I also think something else is happening where we don't even know what anxiety is. So often people are like, I feel anxious, but they don't even, it's just like a generalized, I'm just worried. Like, how do we know the difference? What is the difference? Like, it's all subjective. We all get to decide for ourselves what the difference is. But for me, I think like saying you're anxious is the same as saying you're angry. I know it's different to what a lot of people have heard, but there's also an anger disorders out there.
Right. You're right. And I guess when I'm thinking about what you're saying about you get to decide. Now, first of all, how empowering is that? Mm-hmm. That's very empowering when you get to decide. And then also the fact that, I'm looking at, I might be really nervous because I'm trying something new and I get all these little feelings in my stomach. But then I may have another experience where I get anxious at a different level. And just looking at all these things, now I need to figure out, I maybe can figure out tools for myself to handle that nervous feeling in my stomach. But when I get anxious at a different level, what do I do? So I need to be able to decide that. I need to be able to be aware of that so I can figure out, what do I do? Do I go see Vicky and get some tools? So when I'm more anxious and I can't control it, what do I do to control it? The thing in the pit of my stomach I can control, but what happens when I get more anxious and I can't control it? I guess that's the beauty of me getting to decide.
Right. And that's the thing, even if we know someone else that has anxiety and we're trying to tell them what to do all the time, it's like so disempowering when they already feel disempowered.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point. Because then we just feel like it's just one more thing someone's trying to tell us to do. I love that.
Everyone else knows better than us, of course, because there's something wrong with us because we have anxiety and we're broken and we're unfixable, and everyone else thinks it because that's why they don't let me make decisions. Like I said, for me, it's like that line is really cleanly cut. Like if you are not getting out of bed, you are not holding down a job, you are not paying bills, like that's the line for me. Everything else is like, you could feel empowered to do something, even if what you feel empowered to do is go to the doctor and take pills. Amazing. Go feel empowered and do what you think is right for you.
I love that. Yes. Always want to leave people in an empowered place. Mm-hmm. Love it. Awesome. Vicky, we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And when we come back, Vicky is going to share with us ways for us to, all the brain science behind this. I can't wait to hear all of that. And then ways to overcome anxiety in your life. We'll be right back. Are you a podcaster with lots of episodes and content, but have not been putting it to good use? Don't you know that repurposing your content gives you more visibility? And no, it doesn't have to be time consuming. I've got you. Hey, Kimberly Wiggins here with Inspired Women Amazing Lives. Listen, you have what it takes to do this, but it is just time to let more people hear your message. Repurposing your content can surely get you there. Using my repurposing system for your podcast episodes helps you to show up everywhere and be heard in a much greater way so that your message can add value to the lives of others. Isn't that what you really want? Check out From Podcasting to Profit right now at inspiredwomenamazinglives.com. Let's shift things for your life and business so you can repurpose your amazing content that impacts your audience. Use the code PROFIT for $200 off From Podcasting to Profit. Okay, we are back, and Vicki, I'm so excited to hear about the brain science behind all of this, about being anxious and having anxiety. Can you tell us what is the brain science and kind of what are the tools you use related to that to help with anxiety?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have different parts of our brain, right? And I call our primitive part, like our cave woman brain. It's like all animals have this brain. I also sometimes call it a puppy brain because we had puppies and I saw them making decisions from their puppy brain, right? And the cave woman puppy brain is highly motivated by three very simple things. One is seek pleasure, two is avoid pain, and three, minimize effort. Which is why we all love watching Netflix, eating ice cream, not doing the things that we said we were going to do that seem hard on our to-do list. And, we're creatures of habit, shall we say. So that's what's motivating that part of our brain. And remember, our brain really just wants to keep us alive. So this primitive part of our brain is always telling us to not do the scary things, right? And then we have our prefrontal cortex, right? And this part of our brain is where we are able to think about the future. Like, actually, if I want to lose weight, I should eat less now. Actually, if I want to launch my own business, what are my skills? What could I do today? Should I save money now? How should I invest, right? So we have these two conflicting parts of our brains. And then we have 60,000 thoughts a day, right? Now, most of these are subconscious thoughts. So if you're someone that has been like, my anxiety just came up out of nowhere, it's probably because it was buried in your subconscious thoughts, because we're not even paying attention to what's going on half the time, right? And we don't even, our brain speaks to us constantly, and we don't even believe, no, we believe everything it tells us. That's what I mean. We don't even challenge what it tells us. So it can say, you're not even good at this, you're not worthy, you're not good enough. And we're just like, geez, well, I guess if my brain says it must be true. But our brain is not giving us the facts. It's constantly giving us a narrative. And even more than that, our brains love to be right. So once we have a belief, and a belief is just a thought we've thought over and over again, our brain is like a little lawyer. It's like out hunting for evidence for it to be true. So I'll give you an example from a client I had. She told me there were no good men out there. Just no good men. She was never going to find anyone. That was it. And we were coaching, and in the story, she mentioned how a guy had asked for her number. I was like, pause a minute, because you told me that there were no men in the town that you lived in, and there was no good men out there. And now you're telling me that not only was there a man, but he asked for your number. What did you do? And she was like, well, I didn't give it him. I was like, but like her brain wouldn't let her give this guy her number because it would disprove her belief that there were no men out there. And then it like literally ignored it. So even when she told me in the same conversation that there were no good men in this story, her brain didn't register that she'd even met him. Exactly like what you were saying about the boxes, right? Our brain's like, we've decided there's no good men, we're in that box, and that's it. It's not even true. So we've got all these factors coming into play. Now, in terms of anxiety, our brain is constantly on alert for danger. That's its job. That's how we survive. That's how we kept alive, right? So, and add to that we have like this natural negativity bias. If we look at like cognitive science and how the brain, we have a negativity bias. Again, we're always going to be looking for the negative. That served us throughout our evolution, when instead of being like, I'm just going to leave finding a shelter to look, our brain was like, if we don't find a shelter, we're going to die. We're like, knowing the worst case scenario served us. Knowing that like maybe I shouldn't eat these berries because they might be poisonous served us. Now going onto a flight, let's say, and thinking about the worst case scenario about like it crashing all the time, it's not really serving you. You're not the one driving the plane anyway. Like having all those thoughts is not productive, but our brains are just wired that way.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is going on in the background, and there's like a loop even with anxiety, where we have thoughts causing our anxiety. Thoughts like, let me just, the negativity bias creates all of our negative thoughts. We're very focused on the worst case scenario. Then as we're focused on the worst case scenario, anxiety happens, which is basically our brain releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline into our body so we can run faster, longer, and feel less pain, and basically useless in terms of our modern day anxiety, which is where all the judgment and self-criticism comes from. Now, once that's all released in our body and we're not running and we're not moving, our body then signals back to our brain something's wrong. And we end up in this like anxiety loop, because to our brain, experiencing anxiety meant imminent death. And now we're just like start feeling anxiety, and this whole spin of like our brain releasing the hormones into our body signaling to our brain that something's wrong. It's like danger, danger, danger. And we're just like sat there like, why am I even having this? I shouldn't be having this. And all that self-judgment is just getting more and more critical. And then we're like, I don't want to feel like this. What can I do to avoid this pain and seek pleasure? Oh, I'll go on social media. I'll just compare my negative mood to like someone's best 5 seconds from their whole week. Or I'll go to the fridge and I'm just going to like eat something that later I'm going to criticize myself for. Or even better, I'm going to drink alcohol even though I know it worsens my anxiety. Right? Like these are the habits. This is how our brain is built. Right? Like this is what we're dealing with, guys. But the good news is like our brains can be rewired, right? This is the work that I do. We change our mind about things all the time. I like to give a really simple example of Brussels sprouts. When I was younger, I just didn't like Brussels sprouts. Like, I don't like them. I would say they're not tasty, and I would think it was just like a universal truth in the world. And now I love them. Like, give me Brussels sprouts. Such a funny example. But I want to give such a funny example because, I changed my mind. And it used to be that the research, the popular opinion was our brains were going to be stuck in their ways, and the older we got, the more stuck they were. And now they have research that shows that we can constantly change our neural pathways and constantly change our beliefs and constantly change our thinking. So you can go from someone who thinks like, I'm not worthy, to someone who is like, I am worthy. You can go from someone to think, I'm not good enough, to think, I am good enough exactly as I am. You can go from someone that thinks, I will never be an entrepreneur, I can never do this, to like a 7-figure entrepreneur. Like we have examples of this happening in life. And that comes from like reprogramming your brain away from just believing everything it tells you.
Wow. Yes. And yeah. And Vicki, you make it all sound so simple. You really do. But there is work there, audience, to be done. Yeah.
Right.
There's work to be done.
I always say it's work, but it works. But the work is not complicated. It's more about consistent repetition, becoming the person who sticks to your word and does what you say you're going to do, and doesn't give it. Don't expect one time to not have pizza and then to never want pizza again. Your brain's going to be like, listen, we want pizza more because we already didn't have it yesterday. We want wine more because we've already done really well for 5 days. It's not like we're going to just click a switch once and you'll be like, boom, that's it, done. It's like a process. I actually work with people for 6 months on this process. It's like learning a language. It's totally doable, but we want to get time. We want to get in there, and then we want to get you learning it to a level where you're not thinking one way and then translating. You're just like straight into that second language. And that's what's possible, right, with these new neural pathways.
I love it. Yes. It's amazing how complex the brain is. It's just really amazing. You would think, when you were talking about all that, I'm thinking, but my brain is my best friend. It shouldn't be telling me that stuff.
Your brain is your best friend. That's why it's telling you that stuff, because your brain just wants to keep you alive. And it's like, what are you doing, woman? I remember I was going to speak on a public stage in front of a lot of people, and I was so excited for it. And then just before I got on, my anxiety shot through the roof, and I was like, why is this happening? Now isn't the time. But I didn't have time to coach myself or do anything. So instead I was like, well, it's kind of amazing that my brain thinks I'm going to die. And so it's basically like, shut up, Vicky, we're taking over, you're taking us on stage, we're going to die. And released all this massive amount of hormones in my body. And instead of fighting it, I was just allowed it. And instead of feeling terrible, I felt the most amazing I've ever felt in my whole life. Suddenly I was working with my body. Suddenly all these hormones made me feel like I had superpowers. Yes, I didn't need them to go speak on stage, but I promise you, like, it was the best, I still remember the feeling now. When I didn't resist it, when I allowed it to be there and even appreciated it being there, and the fact that it was my best friend and it was just there to serve me, the whole experience was just different.
Nice. Now you've given me something to think about. I love doing my podcast because I always get something to think about from the people I meet. And so yeah, because that is our most natural response to like fight it. No, not now. Shut up, brain, not now. You know? So
Yes.
yeah. Nice.
And when we fight anything, we don't solve it. Think about like yelling at someone. You don't yell at someone and then they're like, oh, now you've yelled, I'm just gonna do exactly right. It's gonna end up you both yelling. So you and your anxiety are yelling. Your primitive and your prefrontal cortex are both yelling at each other. It's not helping the situation.
So
You just need to be like, thanks for being here. I love that you think I'm in danger. I'm not, and I'm going to show you that I'm not. And literally, I've never had as much anxiety again going on a stage and speaking. And sometimes I wish I would have it again. It was like so powerful.
I love the way you say that. You're like, okay, I recognize what you're doing. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you care about me, but I'm not going to die.
Exactly, because it is still your best friend, and I'm completely with you on that. You're so right. We have to recognize that our brain is working for us and with us, not against us, because that's when people start beating themselves up and really high self-criticism, really talking down to themselves, and that's just never ever going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you say this is a process. You work with your clients for 6 months. How do you work with your clients through all of this? I mean, you gave us an example of someone who was saying there are no good men out there. I had to laugh because I don't say that, but I haven't met that guy for me yet. So I'm like, and I'm one of the people that, well, they may ask me for my number, but I don't give them. I get theirs because I want to make a decision whether I'm going to call them or not. So I had to laugh when you say that. But how do you? It sounds like you work with people through all different. You meet them where they are in life with whatever they're dealing with. How do you work with people in your programs?
Yeah, so it's like a few of the things that we've spoken about today. There's lots of different tools, but on a basic level, it's like really getting to know themselves and their inner self-talk, because we're so used to like resisting anything negative or just like indulging in it. And I teach them how to like have a process for allowing it and understanding it and really seeing like how their thoughts are creating those emotions, and then also building a relationship with their anxiety or their anger or whatever it might be, and then really connecting what's happening with their mind, connecting what's happening in their body. And then a big part of what I do is not just help people master their anxiety, but also help them get out there in the world and start procrastinating and produce what they want to produce and create what they want to create, whether that's like a relationship, a business, a book, whatever it might be. Like really, one of the big reasons why we don't do what we want to do is because of the anxiety and the believing in all the fear. So once we are in a place of understanding why we have the anxiety and what it feels like and learning to like allow it and master it, then we are in a position to go out there and create something in the world. Because I have this huge belief, it's just a truth. I just see it as an absolute truth that every person, like anyone could have invented the light bulb, right? Like it was just like a solution, but every person, their job in this world is to take care of themselves. And by taking care of themselves, because I can't take care of you, I can coach you and teach you how to take care of yourself, but that's your job. And then once you are doing that, every person has a solution to a problem in the world that no one else could have thought of.
That's right.
Because we all have our unique experience, our unique knowledge. Like, and what I say to people is like, you not doing what you want to do isn't just costing you.
It's costing Yes, there's someone else waiting for you to do that thing so you could solve their problems. Yeah.
Right. I spoke to a girl today, like a new client we just started today, and she has a lot of anxiety, and she went through like all the different streams of anxiety after her first panic attack, and she's like, now I know what all of them are like, but she's afraid to go out there and help other people. I'm like, but you were missing that person to go to, because like you were missing that person as you went through it. Now think of you 2 years ago, like, and how you can show up for that version of you now, because there's thousands of people where you were then, having their first panic attack and not knowing what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she has big opportunity there. So,
Right.
and
Totally.
you said something earlier when you were talking about how you walk them through with their mind. You help them. I think you mentioned something about helping people to know themselves, like at a bigger level. I think that's something a lot of us really miss. I've really tried to get to know myself. And a lot of people, they think about it and then they say, what do you mean I don't know myself? Of course I know myself. I've always lived with myself. But really, you don't really, a lot of times, unless you have focused on that, you don't really know yourself. You'd be
Right.
surprised. Yeah.
So a lot of people say to me, like, I'm so self-aware, I get it. And then we start coaching and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, because it's not that you don't know yourself. You are always listening, but you're always believing everything. So if someone comes to me and they're like, I'm just a procrastinator, that's who I am. I'm like, are you really? All the
No.
time on everything? No. Like, no. Your brain's decided to title yourself as a procrastinator, so you never have to do anything. You're like, it's just who I am. Like, no, it's not who you are.
Yes.
Even like the extrovert introvert conversation. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were like, for an extrovert, I'm enjoying being at home a lot. I'm like, just because you like being out with people doesn't mean you don't like being alone. Like, our brain is looking for those boxes, and we do it with ourselves. And when we do it with ourselves, we literally pay the price of our dreams. We pay the price of those relationships. We pay the price of solving these world problems that we are uniquely capable of solving.
I love that, Vicki. Yes. I have that introvert extrovert conversation all the time. I hate it. And I hear when people say, oh, I'm such an introvert. Really, you're not. I'm like, I'm having a great conversation with you. I just met you. How are you such an introvert? I'm
Right, it's
like,
like a scale, like
yeah,
everything.
I
Everything's a
know,
scale.
I know. Yeah. So that's a great example. Yeah. So I am really excited about the work that you do. Now, one of the things that you mentioned briefly was procrastination. And I know there's a level of probably procrastination that comes with anxiety, but you don't have to have anxiety.
No, you can procrastinate whenever you want. Trust me.
So what do you tell people? What creates this procrastination in people a lot of times? What have you seen? And what are your best procrastination tips?
Yeah. So firstly, our brain is wired to be lazy. Like, literally, I want everyone listening to just hear that. Your brain is wired to be lazy. It wants to conserve energy. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing surprising when you say you're going to do something and then your brain is like, maybe instead I'll sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Like, that is what your brain is wired to do, conserve energy. And it's so much better when we think of it that way, like conserving energy versus lazy. So typically I'll say it comes down to one of three things. One, your self-identity. You're like, I'm a procrastinator. Two, your thoughts about that particular goal or that particular task. And three, your thoughts about the people involved. So if like you're working for a boss and you're like, they don't even care. Or if it's dating and you're like, well, there's no good men anyway. So like we have our thoughts about ourselves, our thoughts about the specific thing, and our thoughts about the people involved. And there'll be the thoughts about one of those that leads to the procrastination, right? It's not fun, it's boring, it's hard, all of that kind of stuff. Now, to overcome procrastination, again, there's lots of different tools, but I'm just going to share one, which I think is really powerful because I don't want to give everyone too much information and then they're going to be like, it's too much, I'm not doing anything, and just go back to procrastinating. I know you guys, I know you. So one really simple thing is to start very small. One of the most common mistakes I see is people be like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week, having not been for years. You know what? I'm going to just like stop drinking alcohol completely after drinking every day. I'm just going to like cut out all food and go on this like crazy diet, whatever it might be. I'm going to suddenly wake up at 5 a.m. suddenly. right? And we like do it a few days and then we just like fail, crash, burn. And then we're like feeling more terrible about ourselves because we didn't see it through. And instead, I want you, and I call it even like the 10-minute method, I want you to think about what you can do for 10 minutes consistently, even if it's like Monday to Friday, or even better on a daily basis, what you can do towards that goal. Right? Like, and by the way, I'm not saying you should work at weekends. I think time off is very important. So if it's work related, keep it to that Monday to Friday. But if it is a fitness goal and you want to run, but you've never run before, like put your trainers on and go for a 10-minute walk every day. And then once you've done that so much that it's like in your programming and it's super easy, then either walk for 20 minutes or run for 10 minutes. Like slowly build into what you want to become. There's no rush. The more you rush, the more you fail. Like you want to build long-term change. You don't want to, I need to lose weight in 5 days. Like, no, stop being ridiculous, right? You want to be healthy. Think about what you are telling yourself. The only reason we rush is because we think we will feel better about ourselves when we get there, which we don't. Like it's not even true. Because we feel terrible about ourselves until we get there, so we never see it through. That would be my number one thing.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah. And you know, one thing that you mentioned, like, you're gonna feel terrible about yourself when you rush it, you fail, and then, and for me, sometimes I just like, oh, what the hell? I'm just gonna eat the ice cream.
Yeah. And ice cream's delicious. I don't think we shouldn't eat ice cream, but I think it's very different to be like, I mean, we're doing it Friday night. Like, you know, I've got a sweet tooth, and Friday night I'm gonna like have a sweet tooth, and I bought some nice rosé wine. It's very different to be like, I'm gonna do that ahead of time, still with my prefrontal cortex, versus like, it's late, I'm tired, I'm watching TV, I'm just gonna like eat it all. Like I don't even know how I ate it all. It's two very different experiences.
Yes. And I usually have that late night experience sometimes, and I'm like, oh, and then the next day I wake up feeling really guilty.
Right, and then you've started your day, and I see this all the time. You start your day punishing yourself for yesterday, and so you're not even being as productive as you want to be because you're too busy. Like, I shouldn't have done this yesterday. Versus, like, you know what? At that point, yesterday's done. There's no point beating yourself up about it. Your brain wants you to beat yourself up about it because then you're more likely to repeat it and more likely to procrastinate and not do the work, right? Your brain's very clever. It's like, we shouldn't have done that yesterday. But like, the more you think that, the less you do today. It's like, you know what happened yesterday? Exactly what should have happened. It's done.
Yes,
Done.
yes, 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 you're so right. Yes, Vicky, you are so right. Wow. Yes. So now, Vicky, you have a podcast. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's called Fuck Anxiety and Get Shit Done, but the polite way, with the F asterisk CK SH asterisk T. It actually came from two separate clients, which is funny.
Wow.
And it's all about like short, powerful, actionable tools so to empower people to actually understand what's going on, so they can stop judging themselves and start taking action towards what they want to do. I love it. It's about 10 minutes an episode. We really focus, you know, there's one like willpower doesn't work, there's one perfectionism is a lie, there's one is like how to make decisions, becoming a decision-making ninja. Like there's all, you know, there's a coronavirus panic one and panic 2.0. There's all like very specific. So the idea is you can apply that specific tool, and I often give you literally a little bit of work to do. So if you really want to get results, and I hear from people actually all over the world that tell me that just listening to the podcast has helped them master their anxiety and get shit done.
Wow. Nice. Yes. Very nice. I love the fact that it's just really short. I listened to a few of them and they were powerful, very powerful. So yeah, audience, if you're looking for just a 10-minute, you know, like pick me up every day, you know, like it's a routine to set your day. This is a good podcast to listen to. Definitely have.
Here's your 10-minute routine.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I love it. So, and you have, what program do you have out right now that people, my listeners, could tap into to really get to know you better?
Well, it's a 6-month one-on-one program. The only way to find out more about it is to set up a free consultation call with me. So your listeners can go to vickilouise.com/consult. And it's Vikki Louise.com. And yeah, on that, it's just like an opportunity for you to come, me to ask the right questions to get to know your brain, and then I'll give you the prescription. And then if you like the sound of it and I think you're suitable for my program, then we can discuss the program from there.
And that is a 6-month journey, huh?
That's a 6-month journey. I take you on a ride. We're like not messing around. There's no quick fixes. We are going in there. We are cleaning things up. You're going to come out of it the other side a different person.
I love the sound of that. That sounds so refreshing. And so give us some examples of, I'm curious, just give me some examples of some clients that you've helped, just a few examples of some things you've done, Well,
that client I spoke about earlier, that there was no good man, she's now engaged, which is amazing. I have one client that came to me really down, unemployed at the time, and and then not only did she go on to find the job, but she told me she ended up having a better relationship with her dad, which was something she struggled with for years, which was amazing. I have another client that's improving their relationship with their partner after years of thinking it was a lost cause. I have another client that's, on 6 figures in their own coaching business. I mean, just amazing things are happening.
Wow.
When we show up consistently and do the work. Yeah.
That's really nice. And I just wanted my audience to hear what kind of, it's not just, something's wrong with me or, no, it's people who are doing things, but they just need a little help. Right. And so you're here.
Right. Right. It's like, and it's not, you don't come to me to one of the first things, if you sign up for one of the consult calls, I'll ask you about your goals and what you want, and people always come to me thinking so small. I just want to feel better. I just want to do so small, and I know they're so much bigger. And even on that call, I challenge you to think bigger and bigger and bigger, because I know what you are capable of. I've been there.
Very nice.
My job. It's not. I'm not just taking you to feeling better. I'm taking you to results.
I love that. Taking you to results. I love that. And you can find her at Vikki Louise, Vikki, VickiLouise.com. That's her website. You can find all of her information there. And also, and I'll have all of these in the show notes on my page, but you can find Vicki. She has a business page, Vikki Louise Coaching. She is on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest. I will put all of her links in my show notes. Yeah. So you have a free gift for my audience as well.
Right. It's a free fuck anxiety guide. And it's a few pages, and it includes 2 worksheets. One that will talk you through exactly how to identify how to feel the anxiety, and the second which will talk you through exactly how to identify what's causing the anxiety. And it's also got a bit of information about the science and some of the things we spoke about today. You just go to vickilouise.com/guide, and you can sign up for it there, or even on the main page. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a little place for you to access it. And I recommend everyone print it off, get it ready, carry it around with you, or even answer it ahead of time, and just use those very simple questions, because everything I use is very simple, because there's a lot of overcomplicating this stuff, which really doesn't help. So there's very simple questions that you can just answer and start to feel empowered, start to take that power back.
Yes. There's nothing, I feel like it's just the small things when you start to take your power back. It's just those small things that make such a big difference. It really is. In a part of my life journey, I shared about being in an abusive relationship, Vicki, and how my girlfriend, she loved me. She came and packed me up 3 times and took me away. And 3 times I went back. It wasn't until I packed myself up and felt so empowered by doing it to get out of that relationship, and I put together a plan for myself. It wasn't until I did that that I felt that, I could leave and not come back. And it was so empowering. It is that one feeling that got me through all the rest of the difficult times afterwards. So there's nothing like it.
Totally. And like you having that growth and you taking that action is, I mean, it's hard because we do want to take care of the people we love, but it's like, what's the saying? You can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. Unfortunately, we can know what's best for someone else, but that who you became in order to make that empowered decision
Yeah.
was what kept you from going back.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So these, I love the tools that you're providing. This free gift sounds like it will help people to actually to sit down with themselves and their brain that loves them and to actually work through it for themselves and be able to come up with some thoughts and ideas, things that they can totally use for themselves. And I love that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So now one of the things you told me, Vicki, is that you have lived on 4 continents in the past 10 years. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, I love relocating. I actually think I call it like the lazy way to self-development because it's such a sink or swim. It's like literally you're out of your comfort zone. Yeah, I love it. I love relocating. I love who I've got to become because of it, because I was always out of my comfort zone. I was growing.
That's nice.
And I recommend it to everyone.
That is a good lesson in there. Yeah. That is a good lesson in there though. I I called myself a mover for a while there because I would just move around. I live in Georgia, but I would still just move around in different counties, and I bought a house once and then I was like, I sold the house and I said, I'm never buying a house again because I just want to move around. And people thought I was crazy, but I guess you're right. There's something that happens there when you're doing that. You put yourself out of your comfort zone. And more of us need to be able to not necessarily move around, but put ourselves out of our comfort zone because it feels good and cushy when we're there in that whatever place we're in with those friends that we're with. And heck, starting a business for me was just, because I had to make new friends. My old friends didn't understand it. So, and I still love them. We still communicate, but we just don't hang out as much. So I had to make new friends because
you have to let go of your old identity.
Yes. And it was putting me out of my comfort zone. So I think it's a great thing. Absolutely. And one of your quotes, the quote that you gave me was either winning or learning.
Yeah.
How powerful, that's very simple, but how powerful is that? To think that you're either winning or learning.
It's a quote from Gandhi, and it's, so often we see it as like pass fail. I mean, we're literally taught that in schools, that it's pass or fail. And you'll know this from entrepreneurship. Like you can read every book under the sun. There's always another course to buy or another book to read or another thing to do. It's like not taking action. But until you go out there and start taking action, you are not going to find the unique solution for the exact problem you're trying to solve. And that's a little bit about what we spoke about earlier. Even same with dating, right? Like I got married last year, but I had some pretty horrendous dating stories, right? And like I learned so much from them. And were there times when I felt like absolute shit? Absolutely. But now I feel like it's such an appreciation for this relationship that I never had before because of what I went through. And I think everyone, I got to learn so much by the things that didn't work to make it right for the thing that did.
Yes. Yes. You're right. So you're either winning or learning. I love that. Yeah. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So thank you so much, Vicki. Oh my gosh, you shared so much with me and my audience today. We've learned so much about this brain of ours and how we can really operate, how we can teach it, rewire it for our good. Not that it's not working for our good anyway, it's protecting us. So we've learned so much today. I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
We're
so much
just
for
about
having me.
ready to wrap this up. But Vicki, if you could share with my audience one action tip that they can take away today and put in place, what would that be?
Just stop judging yourselves. Everyone listening, the first step is really to stop judging yourself. That's it. Like everything, there's a reason why your brain is functioning as it is. Just trust that, even if it's not something we've mentioned today. Right? Like you are not broken. There's science behind it, literally. Even if you've not found out the exact science now, the one thing before trying to jump 100 miles an hour, I don't know if that makes sense, jump 100, but just stop judging yourself. It's useless. Even as we spoke about with your example, you judge yourself for yesterday, you're more likely to repeat that behavior today. So if you can just get rid of that layer of judgment, you're going to save yourself so much.
I love that. You're right. You're right. You're right. You are absolutely right. And Vicki, I've done so much better with not judging myself. With
Right.
not judging myself. Every now and then, I'll have these, like the late night. I ate a brownie late night, or that is the one thing for me. But I've done so much better over the years. I used to, I called it. It's almost like I would punish myself for every
Right.
little thing.
Right. And then you feel worse. It's not useful.
Yes. So that's a great tip. If
Thank you
people,
so much for having me. It's been so fun being here and getting to know you and sharing everything.
yes, and audience, please reach out to Vicki if you're trying to figure out where to navigate in life. If you feel like you're in this situation and you're stuck in it, or you're having anxiety all the time, just reach out to Vicki. She's one smart lady, and she's got a lot of tools and a lot of ways to really help you get through that. So definitely reach out to her, and all of her information will be on the show notes on the podcast page. Once again, thank you, Vicki, for showing up. I love it. And
Thank you
audience,
so much. It's been so fun.
yes, it has been. And thank you, audience, for being here. And we will see you on the next episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast. Goodbye. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast. Until we meet again, I urge you as an inspired woman to seek out ways to inspire and lead the other women in your circle. Please share this episode with another woman that you would love to inspire, or someone who has inspired you. Feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, and remember, always thrive, inspire, and lead.